What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So the new League of Legends champion Camille has been teased in a comic that was released on the League of Legends website, and yesterday there were tons of Rioter comments and hints about what her abilities are going to end up looking like. Now although we won't know exactly what her abilities do until Tuesday at 11 AM PST when she's revealed, or at least that's when I expect her to get revealed based on previous champion release scheduling, there's a lot of things that assorted Rioters have confirmed about Camille's abilities that's going to allow us to make some really accurate predictions as to what her abilities are actually going to end up being. And I did some digging, found some, as much information as I possibly could about her, and there's definitely a lot of information that really nobody else is talking about, so I definitely wanted to take a look. And as well, just a heads up, we've still got our $200 RP giveaway that's ongoing until the end of the month. It's super easy to enter. All you have to do is just check the link in the description, and we'll be announcing the winners on Twitter at the end of the month. So probably our biggest teaser for Camille comes from Riot's Skarzard, who actually shared a ton of information about her on a recent Q&A stream with Riot Ghostcrawler. Let's actually just take a look at what he said exactly.
Is Camille Gazelle from Kingsman? It certainly was one of the inspirations, right? Like, I think we had come up with the idea for Blade Legs independently. Not saying it's like no one of the team saw Kingsman or something, right? We're not like it was our idea. No, but we were like, and you guys will hear this if you tune into the podcast.
Yeah,
that'll come out
all
sometime
about
next
her
week.
origin and
but there was a lot
iterations.
of like, what is the it's like cyborg, or like, should she be altered? Does she work with Victor? Does she work for Victor? What are those things? And I think they came to Blade Legs being cool. Someone mentioned it before we started in the stream, but she very much is the Vi for kicks, right? I think that's one thing I will spoil for you right now is that every move is a kick. And all her basic attacks are kicks. She is focused on kicking.
She was one of those champions that, a little bit like Ivern, the idea of animation came up really early on of like, what can we do? Because the silhouette isn't that unusual. She doesn't have a giant weapon or things like that, but it was about what could we do on the animation side, and the artist just crushed it.
So what Skarzard said does come down to a couple of things. So first off, every ability she has is going to be some kind of kick effect or have some kind of kicking part to it. And as well, her basic attack is going to be a kick as well. So this leads us to believe, of course, that she's going to be a melee champion, since a basic attack that is a kick being ranged doesn't exactly make that much sense, right? And since she's going to be a melee champion, that leaves open the possibilities of her being either maybe an assassin, a bruiser, or a tank. Now a tank is extremely unlikely, and just based on the comic and personality she pulls off, she definitely did feel a lot like an assassin, since that's literally exactly what she does in the comic. She sneaks in and assassinates someone. But the possibility of her being a bruiser isn't all that far-fetched. However, we've actually had bruisers released kind of recently in the form of Kled and Alawi a while back, whereas the last assassin released goes all the way back to Echo actually, so her being an assassin is definitely the most likely style for her to fit in. Riot Ghostcrawler also commented in the same Q&A that Camille had a very visceral feel to her, meaning she feels very, concrete and very snappy and just clear-cut and very slick, if that makes sense, I guess. So that's something that I could definitely see that would make her super fun to play with for sure. Now Riot Jag, who is the designer for Camille, the lead designer, also teased a few bits and pieces of things here and there, and there's a lot, so let's speed run through them. First off, Riot Jag said that Camille is going to be fairly difficult to play and have a skill ceiling that is on the high end, but not crazy high, which again does, I would say, hint at her being an assassin most likely, because tanks and bruisers are usually on the little bit easier side to play, at least mechanically. But this also hints at her having some outplay potential and of course just some reasonably complex mechanics. He also confirmed again the concept of her having bladed kicks, just like Skarzard pretty much confirmed on the stream. Riot Jag also described Camille as being super fun to play, and of course that he was very excited for her PBE release next week. So we can also get a lot from the comic and what she does there in terms of her actual abilities. No doubt she will have some kind of ability that shoots out a blade at range. Whether that's her basic attack and she's a ranged champion, or whether it's her main harass tool, I definitely expect that ability to be like her main laning, her main harass tool that would probably be on her Q. She's also likely to have some kind of mobility spell using the zipline thingies that seem straight out of Attack on Titan almost. You know, based on the way that they're designed, I'd expect this to maybe be a gap closer that shoots out a skill shot, and if it hits an opponent or if it hits a wall, you would then dash towards them and maybe like kick the opponent at the end of the ability or something like that. Now that would definitely be a super fun ability to play with, to be honest. And as well, actually, this kind of grappling hook effect is something that's been messed around with a lot in the past on previous champions. I can't say exactly for sure, but I believe they tried to make something similar work with Kled in terms of like his hook ability interacting with terrain, as well as attempting a similar ability on a couple other champions. So it's something that they've actually been trying to bring to life for quite a while now, and although it probably would be pretty similar to Nautilus's Q, it is functionally a little bit different since it would pull Camille the entire distance rather than having both champions meet at the halfway point. And since it's also an ability that has been scrapped before, had many iterations attempted to it, it's something that I could see be extremely likely for them to bring back for Camille, since it does seem to fit quite well. Also, just a heads up for the comic-based predictions, Riot's Scruffy also commented on Twitter saying that Camille's kit really delivers on what happens in the comic, so I'd say that the predictions based on the comic are definitely going to be accurate. Now, Riot August and Riot X Geniar also hinted a little bit at some stuff with their comments, which to me, again, confirms the similarities to Vi, but also introduce some new similarities to possibly Jace. Now, the Vi similarities, pretty straightforward, they're pretty obvious since Riot's Charizard lined them out for us quite nicely, but as far as similarities to Jace go, it's a little bit tricky since this does potentially introduce the possibility of Camille having two forms. The last time Riot released a dual form champion that could change at will was Quinn's rework, I guess? And if you don't count that since it's a rework, then it's actually Elise. Now, they did release a ton of dual form champions that can't change at will, but it's been 4 years since the last new champion release of a shape-shifting, two forms sort of character. So it's not impossible, but this is quite a specific mechanic to predict off of such a small little hint that I would definitely still consider this very unlikely. Now, what is a lot more likely is for her to have something similar to an ability from maybe Jace's melee form. Perhaps her having a kick ability that is a knockback, similar to something like Jace's melee form E, is probably the most likely prediction in terms of comparisons that you could make with Jace. I mean, an ability like that just makes actually so much sense for everything that we know about her, It would fit in perfectly as an ability that's a kick, it gives her that really visceral melee style Riot Ghostcrawler kind of hinted at, and it also gives her a mechanic which actually leads me into my next point, and that is that Riot Reave 3 also hinted that Camille is going to be an anti-assassin champion, and that kick knockback ability could totally fit in to give her that sort of an anti-assassin tool. And this definitely does make a lot of sense to me. We've got the assassin reworks recently, and it's just a niche of a character that could work quite well and be super fun, especially since it's so relevant since the assassin reworks came out. So this concept of an anti-assassin is something that is super cool. It definitely fits in perfectly with her personality based on what we saw from the comic. And so from that, she's definitely going to be a bruiser or an assassin herself, and it's definitely safe to say that she will have some kind of anti-assassin capabilities. Now, whether that's in the form of some tankiness, some crowd control, or something else, it's a little bit tough to say, but I really see her having an ability that is a knockback kick kind of effect, and she will definitely have some kind of anti-assassin tools. Personally, I'm really rooting and hoping for her to be an assassin herself, because having, an anti-assassin character could be super fun to play with for sure. It's a really interesting niche that hasn't been explored yet gameplay-wise, and overall would be such an awesome addition to League of Legends. Now, something I also thought was a little bit interesting is that we do have some specific information about quite a few things that will definitely not be in our actual gameplay kit. So a few months back, a user on Reddit actually posted this kind of funny bingo sheet as kind of a joke about new champions and their gameplay kits with Riot, and Riot Jag commented that no champion that is being released in 2016 actually scores a bingo on this chart. So looking at the bingo sheet, we kind of get a ton of information for sort of like combinations of things that definitely won't exist on our kit, which I thought was kind of cool, although it's not necessarily that specific of a prediction, so it doesn't really tell us anything. However, Riot Jag also responded to a comment of a user who asked if Camille would have any 3-hit passives, percent HP true damage, a blink, cross-terrain mobility, stealth, or more than 3 passives. And Riot Jag responded, and he said that Camille will have exactly one of those mechanics that the user listed within her actual gameplay kit. Now, if my theory of her kind of grappling hook ability is true, that's going to rule out having a blink and having cross-terrain mobility. Now, I really doubt that she will have stealth. It's just not going to fit her personality, her character, and Riot's also stated in the past that they're being extremely cautious with the introduction of any new stealth mechanics, so I'd consider that one super unlikely. Riot's also stated that they're kind of trying to avoid 3-hit passives these days, since that's an effect that they kind of see as being, you know, a little bit oversaturated in terms of how many champions it's actually on in the game. And as far as her having 3 passives go, I'd have a really hard time seeing her have 3 passives in her kit without having percent HP true damage. So it's probably safe to rule that one out as well. So my money's definitely on her having some percent HP true damage within her kit somewhere. Maybe on her Q, maybe on her knockback, I guess. Actually, it would actually fit quite well on her grappling hook even. That, or maybe my theory about her dash is incorrect, and then she's just going to have the ability to have cross-terrain movements. So either one or the other, but I have a really difficult time seeing her have any of the other mechanics based on the information that we know about her. There's also a bunch of random notes and information and stuff that's not necessarily related to Camille's gameplay, but I still thought it was really interesting in general. So again, she is designed by Riot Jag, of which this will be his first actual champion that he's designed that's being released. Camille's lore and story was also written by Riot Thermal Kitten, who did the writing on Talia, and as well the design for Camille was, you know, heavily influenced by Gazelle from the Kingsman, you know, that one girl with like the blade legs in the movie. Great movie, by the way. And of course, she also draws some inspiration from Lin Beifong from The Legend of Korra, and probably Attack on Titan as well. Camille as a character as well isn't exactly, you know, this completely robotic figure. She was described by Riot Jag as like this augmented cyborg, alive person who's kind of like a mix, you know, between a human and a robot. And one thing that I thought was really interesting that actually probably doesn't mean anything to most of you is that Riot Jag confirmed that Camille was not the champion project that Riot Gypsy Lord, aka Riot August, Riot Groovy Lord, he goes by a bunch of different names. It's not the champion that he passed on to another designer when he moved to work for Riot's research and development team for like their new games. So if you guys know anything about Riot Gypsy Lord, well, that's going to further confirm the theory that Camille is definitely not going to have a 3-hit passive, since it's not his champion. Either way though, that's just about all the information I could find. You know, I did my best to dig and find as much stuff as I possibly could, as quickly as I could, so hopefully you guys learned something about Camille, or thought it was interesting at least. A lot of what she's going to have seems pretty clear cut to me. I mean, we've got pretty solid predictions for 3 abilities, and there's definitely a lot of predictions you can make that appear to be fairly accurate, I would say. Again, look out for her actual announcement with gameplay and everything, which is almost certainly going to be released on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely drop a like, subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.